Okay. He said, it says in the Pasuk, ki, somewhere in Eov, arum bati, arum yatzati, a person comes to the world naked with nothing, and leaves the world with nothing. That's what the man said. So that's the Pasuk. So say Chazal, Moshe Lama double doime. I don't know it was a Chazal. I found out afterwards it's a Chazal, to a Shu'al, that wants to sneak into a vineyard. That's the word, to a vineyard. And there's a very small entrance. So he has to like fast for a week, become very slim, and then he could go in. What happens when he went in? He ate the whole grapes, and they can't come out. So what did he have to do again? Fast again another week to become skinny and then leave. So what did you gain? You came in skinny and you left skinny. As for Yaakov Galinsky, every mashal is always coming like to add something to the pasuk. What are you adding to the pasuk? The pasuk says Alum Bati. Anybody remembers the pasuk? Alum Bati, Alum Yatzati. What's that mashal kazeh? I think a pasuk in Niyog. So what are you adding with this mashal with the fox? So said the Yaakov Galinsky the following: if you look at the pasuk says you come with nothing, you leave with nothing. Maybe there's nothing what to do about it. When you see the mashal of the fox, so then you say, if the fox would have been a little bit more clever, you know what he should have done? Taken the grapes and throw them over. So when he comes out, they'll be waiting for him. He had to eat it right then. The mashal brings, he should have been a little bit more a pikach. They say a fox is pikach. And he should have said, take a little bit, eat a little bit, and the rest throw over the fence. And when you come out, I'll be waiting for you. That's the nimshal. You're here in Olam Hazeh. You come with nothing, you leave with nothing. But be clever, put something on behind the fence, that when you get there, it should be waiting for you. What? Vidyuk. Now, boy, say, today I want to live with you, and you said at the Maral that we spoke about maybe the She'ova, but I want to go into it a little bit more. So first of all, there's a little hakdama. There's the mizbeh, the kelim that we know about in the Mishkan. So I want to start one that could have before the Maral. Which kelim would you point out that has measurements? Which kelim would you say? The Aron, the Shulchan. Menorah is kind of hard to measure, but the Mizbech. The Mizbech is mentioned in this week's parsha. Did you notice something about the measurements of the Aron? They're all halves. All three are halves. Amatayim v'chetzi orkoi, v'amah v'chetzi, and I think amah v'chetzi komoisa. And by the other two kelim, it's what? Not all, but at least one of them is shalom. And the Mizbech, let's see the one of the Mizbech in this week's parsha. 1.5. Okay, what do you have? At the end of Pasuk Tetzaveh. So what does it say? Vasil Mizbech, Ama Orkoi, Va'ama Rachvoi, Va'ama Saim Komosoi. And they're all shalom. Right, manyan. That's the Mizbech. Right? I have more sheets. Yeah. B'vakasha. It's double-sided, but keep it.
It's a few sheets.
No, each one. Yeah. So, boy say, so the Maral brings, the Maral says a medrash. It's a medrash, the Torah Shlema didn't find the medrash, but it's a medrash, that when it comes to Torah, you never shalom. Always when it comes to Torah, a person has to feel that he's chaser. And bringing out that he's lacking Shlomo says that the amas are broken. Fine. That's the Maral in the Siva Torah Perek Tes. The Maral in the first Yisrael at the end of Perek Lamed Hey says the luchos were Oma with Shisha Tvachim this and Shisha Tvachim that, Shisha, and it's Shalem and it's Gevaldik and it's because Shisha Tvachim is a Oma Shlema because Torah has to be Shalem. So Aron has its broken midas for the luchas that has shlemas. And now this is not stamakasha from Aron to luchas. The whole purpose of the Aron was for the luchas. Prove it to me. What? There was no, I can't hear, I'm sorry. when there's no luchos. Meaning, you know what I'm saying? You give a look in Pasha's Torah just for a second. It's one of the few times that the Maral like tells Rashi, I don't know what you're bothered by. זה לא אדם מראה את זה. זה הסדר. But give a look at what say. It says in פרק כ"ה פסוק כ"א, ונשאת את הכפורס על ההורים מלמעלה, ואמרתי תן סעידוס שאתן לך. So what does Rashi say in pasuk כ"א? I'm going back a second. פרק כ"ה פסוק כ"א. It says Rashi, לא ידעתי למה נכבד. Why are you saying it again? He said it five psukim ago. ונתת לארון, פסוק ט"ז. It's Eidus. So it says it, ונתת לארון is Eidus. What do you say it again, pasuk כ"א? So, okay, so Rashi, that's Rashi's kasha. Says the Maharal and Rashi, לא ידעתי למה לא יודע. I don't understand, well, it's partial why it's twice. And he brings out this point that you ever said. He said, there's a klal in Kochim, Shana alav akosav la'akev. You know, it's when I'm talking, if it says twice, that means it's ma'akev. How would you say ma'akev in English? It's li'kuva. What? Crucial. Okay, we'll stick to ikuva if you don't mind. Okay, chavre. It's li'kuva. So, how come in Bayis Sheni they didn't make an aron? Because you don't have luchas. So you don't have luchas. Make an empty aron. He brings a two step from the Choshev Mishpat, from the Choshev Mishpat. Bayis Sheni, according to some opinions, there was no Urim V'Tumim anymore. They still had a Choshev Mishpat. And if the Kohen would wear a Choshev Mishpat, he would call him Choshev Begodim. So in Bayis Sheni, even though you don't have everything, but with the big Tekuna, which is again this week's Pasha, they had the Choshev Mishpat, the breastplate of the Kohen. The Shemaim Begodim, I said, he's Choshev Begodim without it. So how come if there's no luchas, there's no aron? Teretz, because the Torah said twice, you should put the aron inside, the luchas inside. Shana alav akosav la'akev. It's because of this. It says, I don't understand how come Rashi says, lo yadati lama nichbal. It's very push lama nichbal. To say that's ma'akev. And then I found the Rashash, and Yuma definitely give on the base, says exactly the same thing. He didn't see the Maharal. B'diyuk the same nekuda. You know how come it says twice? That put the aron, put the luchas into the aron. Then if there's no luchas, don't make an aron. And Bayis Sheni, for the 420 years that it was standing, there was no aron because there's no luchas. So the whole aron's for the luchas, and yet look at this discrepancy. The luchas are perfectly shalom, 6 and 6, and the Maharal says because 6 is an amma is a shalom, like a full size amma. But the aron had to be dafka Amar Shvuras. How do you understand that, Chavre? When the aron's for the luchas?
The luchas is the Torah. The Torah is obviously shalom, and the aron is catered to hold it, and that is representing us.
Yep, 100%. It's very ridiculous what you say. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us a perfect Torah. That's Pashat. The luchas is, the luchas is, even though Moshe was the psal luchas, it's the Dvar Hashem that we heard in Har Sinai, and that's Shalom. But we as human beings, it's always chaser. You'll never hear as a human being, you have reached your destination. You hear that on ways. As a human being, you'll never. Even though they say on the Goyen that 2 years before he was nifta, Leila Seder, he was speaking to himself. He thought no one's listening, and he was waiting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he was zoicha to learn Kol HaTorah Kula, and he has only 3 questions. Which is, I know people are bigger, even a bigger man. I know people that have no questions. But not because they know. Because they don't know. Anyway, I'll go over. So just to point out this discrepancy, the Kalim of the Mishkan, all of them had some that was Shalom, but the Aron, they're all Shavur, even though it's done for the Luchas, which are Shalom. Okay, that's one point. Now, first, let me get back there. In Parshat Tetzaveh, the big Kahuna. We know the Kohen Hedyot has 4 B'gadim, and the Kohen Gadol has 8 B'gadim. 4 they have in common. What are the 4 that they share? Mechazayim, Ktoines, Avnet, Mikbas, Mitznefes is the same thing. One of the 4 that the Kohen Gadol has more? Koishen, Ephod, Be'il, Mitzitz. So you know how the Mishnah Yuma presents it in Daf Ayin Aleph on the base? the shortest way possible. These are the 4 kelim, the Mishnah calls it kelim, that they both, Moisi v'lav Kohen Gadol, the other 4. So the first 4 is mentioned for both, the kelim of a Kohen, and they mention the 4 that they have in common. Okay, good. If there's no human nishkafalach, ayin baya. It's a Mishnah, a human divine alpha base, no problem. That there's alba kelim that they have in common. Moisi v'lav Kohen Gadol, another 4. That's the shortest way to say it. That's not the way the Torah did it. הרב כתוב עוד רבע שעה, צריך לקנות את זה, אי אפשר להתחיל עם זה. אנחנו יהודים, שבת זה בסוף השבוע. יום ראשון זה התחלת שבוע, אצל הכהן. אני מחמיא. מה יוסיף או הלך? Okay, Rabbi Yisrael. Give a look in the way the Big Dekuna are presented in this week's Parsha. Not in all the way the Mishnah Yuma said it, which is the most concise way to say it. It starts, the Big Dekuna start in Perek Kavches, right? Pretty much at the beginning of the Parsha. So Perek Kavches, what does it say? Pasuk Aleph, V'ata hakev aleches Aaron achicha, sorry, and his children. What does it say? Pasuk Beis, V'asita Big Dekodesh L'Aaron achicha. So first we're singling out Aaron HaKohen. What are his gadim? V'asita Big Dekodesh L'Aaron achicha l'chovod u'letifares. What are they? Pasuk Dalet. Ve'ela begadim asher yasu. So, and this is only for Kohen Gadol. Choshen, ve'ephod, u'me'il, that's not a unique only to Kohen Gadol. Uksoines tashbetz, mitznefes, v'avnet. The last 3 also Kohen Hedron has. V'asu b'kdekosh la'aron achicha, u'levanav l'chanoli. Okay. And then the Torah goes explaining these begadim that we mentioned, the ephod, the mishmitzos, and the choshen mishpat, with the avonim, etc. Okay. V'nosa Aaron Pasuk of Tes, these are big the Aaron HaKohen. And then Vasisa Tzitz, this goes on all the way up to Pasuk Mem. And then comes Pasuk Mem. Ulevnei Aaron, Tasek Kutoines, Vasitalem Avnetim, those are the belts, Umigbois, Tasalem Lechvat Dvaras. So, Vilbash Nois, Samesamun Achicha Vespitoy, right? And then Pasuk Base. Where does it say the kutonis of the regular Kohanim? Yeah, I'm sorry. So the three are mentioned again. The 3 that they have in common is mentioned twice. It's mentioned by a Kohen, a regular Kohen here in Pasuk Base, and it's mentioned by a Kohen Gadol like we saw before. There's one Beget that they're mentioned like the Mishnah in Yuma. Michnasayim. Give a look in Pasuk Base. Va'aseh lehem michnasei bad. Lechasot psar erva. What does it mean, v'aseh lehem? For them, who are the hem? Look at Rashi, very good. Lehem la'aron u'levanov. Pasuk Base, the first Rashi. V'aseh lehem la'aron u'levanov. So look what happened here. It comes out there's 3 kinds of categories. Michnasayim, they're mentioned together, only once. For Aaron u'levanov. Just, it includes both. V'aseh lehem says Rashi la'aron u'levanov. Then comes let's start with the regular coin. 2 psukim earlier it says the 3 of that he has. Rashi pasuk Mem, give a look. Ulevnei Aaron tasek kutones arba b'gadim alalu v'lo yoser kutones v'avnet u'migba asim mitznefes u'michnasayim aksumim lamata b'parsha. Michnasayim will be mentioned soon. So Michnasayim is mentioned only once in the Torah for both Kohen Gadol and regular Kohen. The 3 that they share in common, namely the K'taynes, the Avnet, and the hat, Mitzvahs Mibas, it's mentioned twice. By Kohen Gadol and by Kohen Hedyon. And of course, the 4 that only a Kohen Gadol has mentioned once. Why did the Torah do it that way? How come the Torah didn't do it like the Mishnah Yuma? Mention the same space, the 4 that they have in common mentioned together once, like he did by Michnasayim. If he did it by Mechnasam, why can't he do it by the other 3? Why what? Why is that mentioned? It's mentioned separately. Where's the tzitz mentioned separately? In Pasuk Lamed Vav. I don't know. It should be, yeah. Yeah. And Chirami. So now Rabbi say, the Maral asks these questions, basically, and he says a Yesod, which I think is it seems a pretty local Yesod, but I think it's a Yesod for life. Now you have it, here's the Pasuk Tetzaveh, you have it on your sheet here. It's even double-sided. If by accident you'll flip it, you'll still have it. We want to take into account. Everybody has a sheet? Yeah, good. Right. So the first paragraph is what we saw the Rashi. We saw the Rashis. Says the Guraya, "Ubagari shamois tetzayin kosav, u'michnasayim ksuvim lemata b'parsha." Like we saw Rashi in Pasuk Mem. The Michnasayim are mentioned later on in the Parsha. Nirali, says the Maharal, Mashalo kalalat Michnasayim mishal b'godim. The reason that Michnasayim were not mentioned together with the other b'godim, they were put on the side. There's a major chilik between them. Ki Michnasayim eino malbush l'chavod. Michnasayim are not malbush of kavod. Rak u'lechaser sa'erva. Like it's in the Pasuk Membeis. The Michnasayim are the Chaser Psar Erva. It's nears. Okay? Fine. Okay. The Shamal Bushim, Kulam Kvod Agufem. The other ones are very Mechubadek. V'arei Michnasayim einam rak in Rosh Hashanah doesn't mean only, but rather, La'asir Gnai, to remove what's derogatory. V'arva Lechasot. ושאר בגודים הם לכובד ולתפארס. לכך נאמר אצל הבגודים לכובד ולתפארס. ובכל מקום לא יחבר המכנסיים עם שאר מלבושי כובד. He brings a raya from the Gemara, שאינו דומה ואינו שווה להם. Then he goes on saying later on, המכנסיים שאינם לכובד, רק נסוס הערווה, ושניהם שווה בערנו בלב. Meaning, what's the Maharal saying? All the begadim are lechavod v'tifaras, royalty, dignity. Any other? Whatever it is. Masha'en kemichnasayim is just what? Majesty. Masha'en kemichnasayim is just tznius, lechassid p'sareva. That's not called kavod. Therefore, it's a category on its own, and he gives you a hint. That's the was mentioned together for Aaron and Cohen. It's just Aaron and Cohen, who has many begadim, so he has a bigger kavod v'tifaras than a regular Cohen. We'll see soon at this point. But Michnasayim is not in that category at all. Michnasayim is l'chasam sa'arva. There's no chilik if you're chashav or you're not. You know, like someone once told me, in a hospital, it doesn't matter who, when people are in the real chashav memech in the hospital, it doesn't make a difference if you're a man, if you're a woman, if you're rich, if you're poor, if you lay down there like everybody else lays down there. It's just waiting to be cured. Right? That's what you're waiting for. There's no hierarchy when you're dealing with necessities. There's no chilik. Right? Now, how does that answer the three that they share in common? How come that is mentioned twice? Meaning, what happens with those three? Again, the K'tainis, the Avnet, and the Mitznefes, or Migbaz. How come they're mentioned in two Maslulim, tracks? It's more coveted for us, even those three. Rabbi says, here's a point of the Rogatchover, which has to do already with Purim. Going into the Rogatchover. Those who are makbid on the Tetzaveh Rabbi Yehuda Chassid, that the Chassid should not have the same name of the Shver. The question was, the Chassid was called Yaakov Yosef, and the Shver was called Yaakov. Is that okay? Or not? Said the Rogatchover, it's okay. Why? Not only that they differ on Yosef, they differ on Yaakov. It's not the same Yaakov. And look how he proved it. The Gemara in Megillah Daf Beis Amud Beis is done. Which days do we read the Megillah? We know the halacha is that the Prozim read on Yudalet, Mukafim on Tetzaveh. That's a maskana. But the Havim, it took a while till they went to reach it. That the Prozim read on Yudalet, that's written black and white. There's nothing more to talk about. That's not negotiable. It's straight. The Prozim read Ba'abasa. The Mukafim is not that clear. So the Gemara has two Havaminas till it reaches the Maskana that we do today. Havamina number one is that maybe the Mukafim read on Yudal and Tezvav, and the Prazim read only on Yudal, and the Gemara learns from a pasuk that can't happen. That can't, don't worry, that won't happen. Next question. Maybe the Prazim read on Yudalit and the Mukafim on Yudalit or Tezvav. They can pick and choose. Says the Gemara, Zmano shezeh, lo kizmano shezeh. Shkach. Right? Do you see what the Rosh is leading to? Do you see what he's leading to? Where is it? Yeah. The Gemara says, how do you know? We know how do you know how they read it? So the Gemara says, they don't read it all. So the Gemara, what, they're not Jews? Not Mustafa. Both dates? So Gemara says the pasuk says that Yom HaArba'asar ve'es Yom HaArba'asar, that means they're separated. Comes a third Havamina. So maybe Ve'ema plazim arba'asar mukafim ibao ba'arba'asar ibao b'chamasar amakra b'zmanahem zmano shel zeh lo kishmano shel zeh. Why do you use this answer for the previous question? If you say they cannot overlap, zmano shel zeh lo kishmano shel zeh, the previous Havamina was that the prazim on Yudalid and the mukafim on Yudalid and Tezvav. Why did you say but they're going to overlap on Yudalid? So say again, Zmano shel zeh, lo kizmano shel zeh. Like you said in the following Havamina. If it's Yudalid or Tezvav. Elamah, what do you see from here? When they're together, it's not the same Yudalid. So you learn from there, if it's Yaakov versus Yaakov Yosef, it's not the same Yaakov. Otherwise, why should Goyen? Goyen Yisrael v'Kotcher. That's what he learned. You hear every good one. You feel it? Good. It's a Gavaldik. And this is a Yisod. I'm sorry? Okay, so no chazar. Fine. Okay, fine. But he's speaking about those who are makbid legamli. We're not going to. That's not a sugi now. But I'll go pointing. What do you see? This is a big yisod. So the three that the Kohen wears, the Avnet, the Ksoinis, and the Mitzvahs, which are found by the Kohen Gadol, it's not the same. The first the same, because the Kohen Gadol has another four, which you've been making more spits. So the three is also more coming to the first, because the joints are the four. It's not the same three anymore. The three that the Kohen has and the three that the Kohen Gadol has, that they're the same. They're not the same, because the Kohen Gadol has another four. Mamash the Yaakov Yosef story. Okay, good. כתוב בתורה, כתוב, מה לעשות? כתוב, לקבל תפארת. כן, תסתכל. כתוב. So, okay, Chazal trying to be as close, as precise as possible. Chazal is speaking about Kovla Tifaris. It's not the Mishnah. The Torah mentioned Kovla Tifaris. Right? It's budget. Each one's doing their job. So now, Rabbi Yisai, here comes a Yisrael, which I would like to bite our teeth into. When it's something done just for necessity, okay, we're going to have to, they'll see my sweater, which is good. The tightness, you'll see the tightness. Something which is done for necessities, there's no difference if you're Moshe Klos or Pashaniyah. You know what's the chilik if you're Moshe Klos or not? And you know, he has a big house, he has a loft, how's it called, the thing on the top? Loft. And he has on the bottom, look what kind of car he's going around with. I mean, just give a look. Chashmani legamay. But when you have tissues to blow your nose, we don't make a chilek if it's for Moshe or for Moshe Rachman. Doesn't make a difference. Tissues is to deal with cleaning your nose. Here, there's no chilek. Between cleaning the nose of a ulaman and cleaning the nose of a gvir, it's the same thing. And Michnasayim is mentioned once for both. That's what we say. It's a big issue. We say life here. I think it's a big issue. We're going to develop it maybe a little bit more. Let me show you where the model says it's another place. Let's give a look at the Meshech Chochmah. Before we go to the model still in this week's Pasha, look how Rabbi Simcha says it. He speaks about the same Nakuda. So it says Rameir Simcha, Hine kol davar sheyesh bo kavod bihiyuto, anything that gives you covet when it's there, lo yeh b'chesrono. So if it's absent, it won't be a pchisus. You do not own a Rolls Royce. That's not a pchisus. If you have a Rolls Royce, psh. But if you don't, they're not going to say, oh, nebuch. They won't. So something that's a covet when you have it, it's not a pchisus if you don't have it. And the opposite, something that without there will be a pchisus, it will be humiliating, it will be embarrassing. So then if you have it, it won't be a big covet. It's just to avoid the busha. You be some covet. The other 7 begodim of the Kohen Gadol, the 3 extra of the Kohen, if you have them, it's covered. It's not covered. Ulam beherdram hu prisus. If you don't have them, it's a prisus. But if you have no mechasayim that you took care of the prisus, so now it's gevaldik, it's covered with tzvahs, you don't go from one extreme to another. Remember Simcha saying the same word. Okay? Let's go back to the Grai, then I want to come back to something that Rameir Simcha said. The Grai says the same thing about shoes. Shoes. What do you think Judaism thinks about shoes? You know, by our Arab cousins, I don't know, you know, if they want to show that their moms don't hold themselves, you know what they do? They throw shoes. You know that? George Bush came to Egypt, they were throwing him shoes, remember? Yeah. But how'd they walk afterwards? I don't know. If you throw the shoes, how'd they walk? Maybe they came with extra ones? What is it? What's the story with shoes? You look at the last paragraph, before we go into the mile, the last paragraph. Look what the Yerushalmi says. Tzaref lekad divrei Yerushalmi, Shmois Bergvav Alachabeis. She'amru lav orcha debar nasha. It's not a customary for people. Meheven and tres sadar. They should have 2 sets of shoes. Chad lechol and chad l'shabbat. It should be v'chad. The Yerushalmi says there's no Indian at all to have Shabbos shoes. No Indian at all. Your regular begodim, yeah, that you got to change. But shoes? Lav orcha debar nasha. It's not a custom. Meheven and tres sadar. Chad l'chula should be the next one. V'chad l'shabbat. You don't have it. Now, what's the shot? So let's see what the Maral said earlier. Okay, so let me show you. We have a chumash in front of us. Let me show you what the Maral's talking about. But give a look. Give a look at Dvarim for a second. Dvarim Perek Ches Pasuk Dalet. Okay, the chumash that I have, it's on page Tov Kuf Nun Zayin. What does it say? Pasuk Dalet. Sim Loscha Lo Bon Sameh Alecha. It's in Parshas Ekev. Perek Ches Pasuk Dalet. In Dvarim. In Sefer Dvarim. Simlascha lo basa me'alecha v'raglecha lo batzeka zer b'im. Your feet did not swell. Says Rashi. The last Rashi pasuk Dalet. Lo batzeka lo nafcha. It didn't swell. Ke batzek. Kedech olchei achev sholchim lefchot. Your feet did not swell. That's what Mizrahi. I'll tell you why the feet didn't swell. They had shoes. Where do I know they had shoes? Later on in Pasuk Yisavai. Where does it say that? Where does it say that? I think in Pasuk Yisavai. Where does it mention the shoes? No, we have a where? What Gevaldik? The Binyamin, are you a Baal Korah? Binyamin, are you a Baal Korah? No. You stop just no Chumash Gevaldik. Okay, Perek of Tes Pasuk Dalet. Okay. So of course the feet did not swell because of going barefoot. Because he had shoes. So what's the big deal? That's what the Gemara was talking. So says the Maral, that's what Rashi means. You know how come your feet weren't swollen like going barefoot? Because he had shoes. So mention shoes. Like you mentioned in the Parshas Tetzaveh. Look what the Maral says on the 4th paragraph. Give a look. ברגועי דברים, פרק ח' הודעת כוסף. יש חילוק בין סמלסך ובין נעלך. In Judaism, there's a major difference between clothes and shoes. כי המלבושים הם לכבוד האדם. מלבושים are part of your covet. כמו רבי יוחנן, קרא למאנה מכבדתה. Rabbi said, let me prove it to you, Rabbi said. Rabbi Chol, what do you say? Rabbi Chol, how do you know you have to wear Shabbos shoes, Shabbos clothes? What's the source? I'm asking everybody, not just one. What's the source? V'chibadato. Right, it says in the pasuk this year, you should respect Shabbos. How do you respect Shabbos? I'm sorry? No, I'll tell you what the Gemara says in Shabbos. And Daf Kufid Gimel. How do you know you're supposed to wear Shabbos clothes? It says because it says v'chibadato, you should respect Shabbos. What do you mean should respect? When Shabbos comes in, stand up? Well, what should you do? Look dignified on Shabbos. How should I look dignified? Wear nicer clothes. And the Gemara quotes in Daf Kufid Gimel because Rabbi Yochanan would call his brodim mechabdai. You look more dignified and whatever according to your clothes. I'm sorry? Kovedik. Right? So brodim are in the parsha of Koved. Not only to cover, but more than that. I'm in the third line in that paragraph, in the fourth paragraph. Shoes are not for covet. It's for necessity. That you should get hurt with your feet. They're not intrinsically needed. It's like an umbrella. You need an umbrella when it rains. That's what shoes are. When you wear clothes, like it's something b'chubadek. But a shon levisha. Ukeshemisayim sana, when you put on your shoes, shasita li kol tzolki. He used to say shasita li. You make what I need. Bare necessities. Kolomar b'shvil echach v'tzorach nivru. Lo b'shvil, that's what I'm calling. She'ein ze malbush l'koven. Now, everybody say here it doesn't. For some reason, I omitted the lines in the middle. But I want to read to you. The Maharal adds a few more words, which I don't know why I didn't quote it. He says over here, "Ki amanalim einam el lechach adam shelo yikabel," that we have here. Hem malbushei gnai laadam shari b'kol makom kedusha asur lelech b'minalim. You walk in the Beis Hamikdash, you have to take off your shoes. Ki dechtiv shal na'alecha. What's gnai by shoes? What, I'm sorry? לא, זה לא מה שאומר, זה הכל יפה מאוד, אבל זה לא מה שאומר. מה לעשות, אנחנו עומדים מר"ל. המר"ל אומר מה שהוא אומר. אינם אל ההכרח שלא יקבל נזק ברגליו. It's not because, I could see the people when they come into this English place, they leave the umbrella outside, they don't bring it inside the meeting room. Why? Umbrella's not something, you need it for the rain. Even if it did rain, even if it's not wet. You leave it, there's a place where you leave the umbrella, and now you go into the room. I see people doing that. Something that's there just to deal with the necessity, and if you wouldn't have had the necessity, you wouldn't have had it at all, it's not chashuv. It's not chashuv. The Ram goes to the degree, it's even called gnai. And therefore, b'makom kedusha, you take off your shoes. Why? Because it's only for now. Obviously, here comes the difference between that and mechnasayim. Shoes, when you wear them, it's a gnai. When you don't wear them, there's no gnai, but you're just vulnerable. If you don't wear shoes, you're vulnerable. So you wear shoes not to be vulnerable. Now, once you're wearing the shoes, it's gnai, because it's not something needed intrinsically. It's there just to protect you. It maybe shows how vulnerable we are, that way. Okay? So when you come to Makom Kodesh, you're going to have to take off your shoes. No one's going to say that when you come to Makom Kodesh, you'll take off the mechnasayim. Zevadaylo. Adrabah, it's Big Nekuna says they have to wear the mechnasayim. So the gnai is a little bit different between mechnasayim and na'alayim. But the point is the same. They're not l'kov l'tifaris. They're not. And that's like Shabbos, that big day Shabbos is because of Mechibadotai. There's no inyan to have Shabbos shoes. Hi, everybody, so we all do have Shabbos shoes.
Those shoes have become
Maybe our shoes today became like a more... Yeah, today's shoes became, maybe it was promoted. Yeah. It's not only to protect you from getting hurt. Okay, maybe.
Is there an Indian not to have Shabbos shoes? There may be no Indian to have Shabbos shoes.
Look at the Lashon Yushabi. Lav Uche, the Balnasha. Lav Uche sounds like it's not their Heretz. What? Zelo Matsui. Zelo Regilus. Okay. You're right, Michal. You're right, Cheskel. It's not a problem. I mean, you could have it. But Lamaisa, there's no Inyan. Because, again, because we wear Shabbos clothes because of COVID, shoes are not in the parsha of COVID. V'haraya, when you come to Makom Mikdash, you got to take it off. And in England, if there's a really nice rug, if there's like a real fancy rug, people take off their shoes. Do they? Not in England so much, in other countries. Which ones? What? The Muslims? No, because when it's a nice rug, you don't want to... They take the shoes off. Well, we don't do it, right? It depends. Oh, okay. And I said, look at the Rav proves it. In the Rav, there's no emphasis. Everything's with the source. When you put on clothes, we say all the brachos in the morning when we come to shul. Fine. The Gemara said that you should do it play by play. When you put on clothes, say malbisha omi, malbisha is chashuv. When you put on shoes, shal sali kol tzalki. He gave me what I need. It's necessities. So how come there's no mention of shoes in this pasuk in Ekev? Because since we're speaking about what mentioned before the name of Hashem, so we don't want to mention na'alayim with next to the name of Hashem. But in Parshas Kisavai, that you didn't say before Pi Hashem, so you can mention na'alayim. That's what the Ral says. But I'm just making a comparison between Michnasayim and na'alayim. Again, they're not 100% compared, but the principle is something which is there because you have to have it. It's serving as another purpose. It's a means to an end. It's not something intrinsic. It's a means to an end. Shoes that they shouldn't get hurt. It's not chashuv. What's called chashuv? That you're there be'etzem. And that's the big dekuna. So now let's go back to the big dekuna, what we see. It's taka, remember, it's three categories. There's michnasayim, that even by a kohen gadol, it doesn't make a chiluk. There's no chiluk between Aaron and Banav when it comes to michnasayim. They both use the same tissues. To blow their nose, they use the same tissues. He's a kohen gadol, he's a kohen hedyot. It doesn't make a difference when it's coming to clean your nose. Then there's the three that they share, but there's a chiluk here, and the Torah is going to mention it twice. By a kohen gadol because it's joined by others, so it's even more covenant for us, and a regular kohen, it's less covenant. And then there's the four super duper, which are only by the kohen gadol, which is called the heichafetzne. That's what we say in Yiddish. Heichafetzne. Fine. Isn't there a yesod here? So how did the Chofetz Chaim, let's say, look at food? How did the Chofetz Chaim look at a house? Is a food something that's to deal with necessities? And therefore I'm not going to make a big issue out of it. I'll eat because if I can't be hungry. I could drop dead. So, no, as Makolas, you know, the Chofetz Chaim had a fit when he would walk into a house and see curtains. Is it curtains? You're wasting money on curtains. Who needs curtains? That's how I looked at it. What? I guess through the windows you can't see. Look at these windows. You can't see anyway. You're right. Otherwise, it has to be. Maybe you're right. But I guess he was speaking. I'm sure the Chofetz Chaim knew about Hezekiah. And he said, you know, I saw, you know, the new biography of the Chofetz Chaim. It came out. It's Dov Elias. It's just fantastic. Every page is like, wow. And Rabbi Yochanan Halevi, who was a goyin in his own right, the Mashgiach of the Mir, Rabbi Yochanan Leibovitz. And he worked many years with the Chofetz Chaim in the yeshiva. And he said the Chofetz Chaim is Eidus l'chol ba'olam she'ashchina she'er b'Yisrael. To have such a kind of yid, that means the Shechina. And then he said on him, I'm sure he said it in Yiddish, but I read it in Hebrew. Lo davak bo afilu gergir echad shel avak olam hazeh.
1 grain.
1 grain of the dust of olam hazeh did not cleave to the Chofetz Chaim. He was not interested in a big car, a big house, it's a lot inyan oto. Lo davak bo afilu gergir echad. מאבק אוי למעשה. הרב קדורי זה מחיה, לא? Good. So the point being, where it says, so if how do I look at food? Do I look at food that it's like shoes and mechnasayim? Meaning it's a necessity, so we got to deal with it. But I'm not going to make a whole deal out of it. 8 courses, a fancy restaurants. Chabib is that all? It's you should drop that.
There's different types of food.
Oh, okay. So maybe Shabbos. Bichlal, when I deal with, you have to have a home. What's a home for? A home is, okay, protection, shelter. I understand. That's what a home is for. And anything beyond that? The Chofetz Chaim would say, no, that's what it's about. So there's no idiot to make these big fancy homes. Because it's like making the tissue is very special. The tissue's from gold. There's no need.
The story with the mezuzahs.
Yeah, good. Masha ain't get good. But this could be pertaining to everything else in our life. When you want something, is this a necessity and you're dealing with a necessity? Or it's more? Listen, it does say in Chazal, I just remind myself, Dira no marchiva daita shalom. So maybe there is an element to being a nice spacious home.
Shabbos mechabed ben machal mishta.
Shabbos, okay. The food on Shabbos for sure is a mitzvah. But when I eat through in the week, I don't know, should I make these fancy meals? Go to restaurants in the middle of the week?
Doesn't Tosha say Pshat and Baron of Pashas Shabbos is that we're saying thank you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the food that we need, lechem and mayim.
And then what's even beyond?
Everything else as well. So
Yeah. So maybe it depends on the food. Like I think someone said that before. Depends on the food. But I think this could be a yardstick for many things in our life. Madness. I need this. Okay, so am I doing addressing the need? That's one thing. Of course you got to address the need. Or I'm going to make a whole fancy delicacy thing out of it. And we're going to now have a hierarchy who has this kind of thing, who has this kind of... the way we look at people with their cars. What kind of car do you have? Now, what's a car for? Here's a good example. What's a car for beyond a means of transportation? Is a car to get you from A to B or more? If a car is to get you from A to B, so there's no need to splash who knows how much money on it. There should be a fancy car and everyone's going to say, psh. What's the purpose? So by a dira, I can hear dira no machiva daita shel adam. Ani chol lishma mechonit na'a machiva daito shel adam. Because I don't know. If you're going to use this yardstick of the Maharal, I think a lot of things we're going to start asking ourselves: do I really need this? What is this serving? What's its purpose? So a nice house, I can hear. As I mentioned before, Chazal say. What are you going to say about a nice car? I think that means talking for the food. But why should I have a fancy car that costs 20,000 pounds more than the average car? Why should I do it? What am I accomplishing here? Let's hear Michal, what do you want to say?
No, I think I'm just missing the point here. What are we trying to say? That it's fine to buy expensive clothes, but not okay to buy an expensive car?
Yeah.
Why should that be?
Because it's the way a person appears mechubadik. Rabbi Yochanan called his clothing. It's you, more in a dignified way.
But alright, the example that the Rob used earlier was a Rolls Royce. So obviously there isn't in and of covered for someone that drives a very expensive car.
I don't know.
It's a mitzvah.
The Maharal said it only on Rabbi Yochanan said it only on clothes because it's mamash you. So you know what? Maybe the example of the Rolls Royce wasn't a good example. It could be. What are you exactly accomplishing with that? So with clothes, it's you. Maybe a car's also you. Maybe. But I'll tell you where it comes from. If a car is not only for necessities, but it's a status, exactly. So I want to show people who I am. And here comes what you said about the mezuzah before. The handles. I want to show people how rich I am. The door handles. What? No, but like I'm just saying, I thought there was something about this. You said the Maharal. Like, is there an Indian? I was told about a certain yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael. I'm going to remain nameless because I'm sure it's only rumors anyway. That you only accept it to that yeshiva if you have shoes worth 800 pounds. If the shoes are worth less than 800 pounds, you're not accepted. And I heard the guys there are very into clothes, okay, and shoes, belts. You can't have a stomach belt. Minimum 200 pounds. Like, okay, I'm sure it's rumors, and I'm sure it's lashon hara, and I'm not telling you the name of the yeshiva anyway, because it's probably shtusim. But anyway, they said it on the mirror. No, I'm just kidding. On the mirror. I'm not giving an example that it's not in the Parsha Bechlal. Legamri lo. A possible melech. Chazal say possible melech to echal b'mayim b'b'soret ishne. I don't know. That's what Chazal say. So I'm just for the Western culture mind. You think things that are a little bit part of status. Yeah, then there's already 100 daggers. You know, with the real Reich and the left. But if it's just, it's nothing. It's tissue box. You're not going to make a big issue out of a tissue box. The Chafetz Chaim, I have no suffix. That's how he looked at all his necessities in the world. There are needs that have to be dealt with, and I'm going to deal with them, and in a nice way. But I'm not going to get dwelling into it. I'm not going to be dwelling what kind of shoes I'm going to wear. It's a nekuda, Rabbi say. I'm just thinking out loud, like, where do you draw the line? I don't know. Where do you draw the line? What's called that it's part of the covet of Adam, the chaviv Adam, and there's an Indian of covet by a person. Hoid v'hadal, you know, the bigger the kuna. Rabbi said black and white, l'chavet l'tifaris. The kohanim wore b'gadim that you should go by, and people should say on them, psh, l'chavet l'tifaris.
One of the things that a king should have, you should spend for the king.
I don't remember that, but I'm sure it makes sense. Then I understand.
Maybe for a regular person, there should also be some thing that's,
Some malchusnik.
yeah,
It could be.
we don't totally disregard it. Like,
It could be. But I think, Rabbi said, we're going to have a lot less expenses if we're going to look at the world that way.
Yeah, but
What kind of clothes do I have to buy for my kids?
the way of life has changed.
What?
The way of life, people look at you, has changed.
The way that people look at shoes has changed. Today, if you're going to come in with, like you said, with trainers and Shabbos, it will be a bazaar. I can hear that. Meaning the mitzvah has changed. But the concept, I don't think, changed. I remember when I was a kid, it was still black and white television. It wasn't colored yet. Michal, did you ever live in such a kufa? The television was black and white?
yeah,
Uh,
just about.
Yitzhak, you lived in it? You did? Okay. I remember there was a police agent called Get Smart. Yeah? Something funny. And Bekitzer, he was on a diet. And then, so he got shot. There's a policeman, he got shot, and he's now injured. And he has to drink for his health. And he's like laying down like that. And they couldn't find water, they found only Coke. So they said, here, take Coke. Is it diet or not? It's not, okay. And he passed out. What's the joke? You're not about to pass out. You care diet or not diet? Is the Mashiach Patla? It's Mamash Nesekuda. When you need it, you don't care if it's diet or not diet. The Mashal of the Chofetz Chaim, back with the water,
Yeah, put me on the fire.
when he comes out to put it on the fire, any water works. The Mashal with the water, the sand, the water without the sand. Well, say over this to him. I don't know if I know it so well. Someone was waiting to have clean water to put on a fire.
Yeah.
So they told him, when there's a fire, you don't care about clean water. Just get water there to extinguish the fire. When you're sitting on your Shabbos table, you can say, I want clean water. He went to say that in our door, there's such a sreifa, don't wait till you become Rabbi Shol Salata to start helping on the Yidden. You got to burn out the fire. But again, the same side. When it's a necessity, who cares? Who cares if it's diet or not diet or whatever? Just do what you need. So how do you look at Gashmis Bechlal? And our bodily functions or needs. Is it a need? And I'm going to treat it as a need. Or no, now let's make a whole status out of it. Chasnas. Again, also, a wedding like today, I can really go to town on this one. Chasnas. Is it because you want to be Misameach Chasam Makala, which is a mitzvah? Or, no, it's not just that. It starts with the Chasam Makala, but it doesn't end there. Bechlalo. What?
So it's about the
with the collar once. Yeah. You speak from experience, I'm Shlomo. It's like these things to think about. You know what I think the Yisrael is? Anything which is not that important to you, you won't make an issue out of it. I could turn ruchnius to that. I just learned Daf Yomi. It's enough. I do understand. I don't understand. Good enough. What kind of tefillin do you have? The best of the best? No, kosher. Good enough. A lulav and esrog. Mamas. So once a year. I remember someone came and told me. Again, when I was in my 20s, so I was a little bit more than today. You couldn't imagine what was then. Hashem Yirachem. Anyway, he comes and tells me, if I say it in Hebrew, will the Olam understand? Yeah? אני הרבה יותר חכם מכולם. אחד הולך לקנות אסרוג, there's 4 days before Yom Kippur, between Yom Kippur to Sukkot. One day is Yom HaEsrog, the other day is Yom HaLulav. It's mamash like that. That's Amos. But I promise you, by the Rebbe Shlomo, it's mamash like that. One day is devoted to get the best esrog. The next day, the best lulav. The next day is the hadassim. Erev Yom Kippur, Erev Yom Tov, I mean, a Rabbis, it can be a little bit more, it's a little bit easier. I promise you, I know people that do it that way. Comes and he tells me a guy on Erev Yom Tov, אני הרבה יותר חכם. אני מחכה עד לערב יום טוב, ואז אני מגיע לשוק מחנה יהודה, מוכרים אתרוגים לפי קילו. לפי הקילו מוכרים אתרוגים. אני קונה, כתוב כשר, לא יום אסרוג, לא יום לולב, החדף נשדוס, I buy it in chick chack, a fraction of the price. Erev Yom Tov. I'm such a chacham. So I told him, today I wouldn't say anything, but then I told him, I said, you really think it's because of your chachma that you're saying this? It means you don't care that much, that's what it means. Because I remember when you wanted to buy a computer, it took you a whole month till you found the right one you want to buy. You didn't just walk into a shop and buy a computer. If it's chashuv to you, you want to do it in a dignified way. If it's not chashuv, okay, whatever. If it's good enough, good enough. You heard the expression? Good enough. On what do you say good enough? Okay, so let's psychoanalyze this for a second. On what do you say good enough? If the whole thing's not that important, good enough. For follow, let's speak. But if it's like really important to you, no, it's not good enough. So it comes out there's necessities, it comes out there's the luxuries, and it comes out that sometimes you'll define how you're going to treat the things as a necessity or as a luxury. And the chilek will be, if it's a necessity, I'm not into making big waves out of it. I'll just do it, whatever has to be done. I'll put on a band-aid, shalom balon. Good enough. But if it's like chashuv, what do you mean? You gotta do it with style. I think there's a lot more to think about of this Yisrael Damal. Be'emet. He's speaking about shoes and about mechnasayim, but he's speaking about life. How do you evaluate what's really something that should be covered with tiferes and something which is just a necessity? And once it's a necessity, how do you deal with it? Beseder Gomor, boy, say. We're gonna have a minyan marav here? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Beseder Gomor, boy, say. No, God.